look, he was better than what Nielsen is doing because Nielsen's an interesting person because she's just a crowd follower. She just follows a lot of things that Trump was telling her to
She's a
do.
big like career. She doesn't want to protect her career. She didn't want to be like cast out of Washington. I think as the person who would not listen to Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. That kind of like speaks to her like who she really is, and she really took a blow apparently when John Kelly left the White House because John Kelly apparently like really watched her back. It'd be very interesting to see like what. How do you think she's going to react? Like, do you think she's going to be more like the Michael Cohen type character or like the Sean Spicer type character, or someone who's going to defend Trump or just say Trump's crazy?
Ooh, I think that she might be in the middle. To tell you the truth, on some portions, she's probably going to support him on a lot of things. When it comes to maybe the economy and things like that, and possibly even immigration. But I think where she can come into a Michael Cohen portion is if another person resigns in the administration and he's saying, "Oh, she was horrible," or "He was horrible. That's why he left," or "I fired them," or something like that. I think that that's maybe where she might turn to Michael Cohen, like to say, "Well, you know what? They left right because you're not really a good boss to have." But I think the majority of her talking about Trump will mostly be in a Sean Spicer way because she still does do relatively weekly appearances on Fox. She's been rather lately on Tucker Carlson a
Yeah,
lot.
she was this past week.
Yeah, yeah, they like to invite those former people for some reason. I don't understand why, but
Probably like keeps them employed, and I
oh
think
yeah,
mostly they're all just like friends. So
oh yeah, they probably are all just friends, and they also probably just want to listen to like they want to listen to themselves in the mirror, so that they act like everyone likes the same stuff that they're trying to talk about.
yeah, certainly seemed to be the case. But yeah. So she lost. Really, she lost out when Kelly resigned. But apparently, multiple White House officials had said she grown really deeply paranoid in recent months after numerous stories about her job being on the line. She also supported the ICE nominee Trump withdrew, whose name was Ronald DiVitello, and apparently he withdrew Trump. Trump withdrew Vitello for not being tough enough, and her support for him was being described as problematic for her with the president. So the president's like, you don't like, you like Ronald DiVitello to support ICE? Not good, folks, not good. We don't like that. So he was taken out of, so it was a bad Trump impersonation. But in early 2019, as the number of migrant families from Central America and countries surged to unprecedented levels, the president's fury at Nielsen did as well. He repeatedly demanded that she cut off foreign aid to Central American countries, even though the funding was her responsibility, the responsibility of the State Department, as she repeatedly deflected his demands. On one day after Nielsen traveled to Honduras to sign a regional compact with officials from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, Trump cut State Department funding for the Central American countries, which really kind of embarrassed her. We talked about that on the show, and that's really what he wanted to do. And Nielsen was not for that. What really worries me is, like I said this before on a YouTube video I just did, it was just like his headspace about immigration. Like what he's thinking is he wants to get tougher. He didn't think that maybe the family separation is enough, and he wants to do more of it. I mean, may politically help the Democrats because like the political liability for them with family separation was huge, but like the human cost that's already been inflicted by some of the things that Kirstjen Nielsen's done is too great. Like she was so stupid about it too. She lost like the records of all these people. It's going to take possibly 2 years to like reunite something like 2,000, 1,500 like migrant families, and like the fact that he is considering putting someone who is more tough on immigration than her in the position. Like you can only imagine what could be going on there.
Oh yeah, I could definitely imagine that stuff. It's probably gonna, it's definitely gonna change in quite a bit. To tell you the truth, I think that if he put someone like Chris Kobach earlier in the position that Kirstjen Nielsen had, I would honestly tell you the truth. I would see a lot of different changes at the Homeland Security right now. Um, Now, Ken, the guy who he wants to have lead the Homeland Security, actually had said that he wants to make it even harder to travel on an airplane. And he's also said that he wants to ensure that we can like get the wall built much quicker, and that it's kind of ridiculous how they're taking forever to get funding for it. He also had mentioned that he liked the separation to ensure like that everyone who is crossing the border can fully be detained, but then also,
So
uh,
wait, he said he liked the separation.
yeah, he said that he would like that some portions of it he was actually fine with on his interview
Okay.
that he had not that long ago. He had an interview on Fox News, which aired, I think last week. He was on, and he was mentioning that some portions of it, he said that it was good for the safety of the country and this other stuff like that. He was saying that to ensure like the safety, detaining certain people who he thought were a threat. So basically, he's turning as well the border patrol officers into basically like social workers, trying to see if they're like threats to this country for some reason.
Yeah.
But I think if the Homeland Security is going to be run by this guy, I think that's definitely going to take a pretty big turn. Probably for the worst, to say the truth, because I don't really think that they're going to be really getting anything a turn for the good in that department for a very long time, at
Yeah, as
least
long as Trump's
for.
in office, at least.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Because I mean, he also mentioned he wants to make air travel like harder in the sense like he wants to make sure like that you got to bring your passport. Now you might have to bring more. Like you already have to bring your passport or ID card, but he said you might have to bring even more stuff like a ID card. And if you have a green card, like you have to like go to the TSA. Not the TSA, excuse me. You have to go to like the Homeland Security office, and you have to like tell them why you're traveling. He was mentioning things like that. Like I don't know. He said that people or like using green cards as well. That he was going to be cracking down on people like that as well. So a lot of definitely interesting stuff this guy was talking about with travel wise.
Yeah, so apparently it's not going to get any easier. It's probably going to get a lot worse for a lot of people who are facing really a lot of tragedy in their own country, who come in and pretty much get a slap in the face or a punch in the gut from, excuse me, the Trump administration here. So, yeah, that's what we are watching on Israel, or not Israel, but on the border. But on the outside, on Congress, we're talking about Devin Nunes. His lengthy crusade to investigate the conduct of the FBI and Department of Justice in their handling of Russia probe is reaching a climax as the congressman prepares to send 8 criminal referrals to Attorney General William Barr, according to CNN. Yes, this guy is like who's currently suing an internet cow at the moment. He's a little wacky, but Nunes began investigating the supposed crimes when he was chair of the House Intel Committee before Democrats took control of the chamber, Adam Schiff and all that. He believes the DOJ and the FBI used the FISA court process during an investigation into Trump's 2016 campaign, and the agencies were biased against Trump. Early last year, he released a much-anticipated memo that quickly kind of was a dud, if you remember, like release the memo, that kind of drive. On Fox News, Nunes said the criminal referrals relate to allegations of lying to Congress, misleading Congress, and leaking classified information. So, yeah, he didn't specify who the charges were against us. So what's your reaction to all this craziness?
Well, Devin Nunes has consistently tried to delay many of the things that we have in the Mueller report. He was saying
That's true.
things with the report that it was a hoax and that he thinks that it shouldn't actually be he shouldn't actually be released yet for the public. Now, the 4-page thing that Mr. Barr had actually sent out basically edits out many of the things that the report says that could be anti or biased against Trump. And he, Mr. Barr is still refusing to release the full 400 pages of it for some reason. There's definitely a reason as to why he's trying not to release it. But I think that what's going to be most interesting is when Mr. Barr had actually mentioned that he thinks that the transparency that he already gave with the 4-page report was enough, which honestly I don't really think it was, because the 4-page report that he gave out was basically a summary, but in a biased way. It didn't really examine or tell us the fact of what the report actually came out with. It was more of just like what the report was doing, and sort of like he was talking more about like how the report was the timeline of it, and he was also discussing about like when the next one would be released. That this is like a beginner one. Here's some of the summary of what we've gotten so far for the first, I think it was like 60 something pages of it, and we're going to be releasing another one pretty soon. But it doesn't really seem like they're going to be releasing the full thing soon. Now, Devin Nunes did the same thing during the Mueller investigation. He was actually the man in the House when he was on the Intelligence Committee, who was trying to derail the entire Mueller investigation. He repeatedly did it, and even when they sent out their own copy of it in 2017, not of the Mueller report, but of a report that they were writing about, and then when Skiff released his report, they were both completely different, and Devin Nunes was obviously targeting Mr. Skiff's report, saying that a lot of the stuff was fake.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
can't believe what he says. But I mean, we can't really trust a man like Devin Nunes because he's someone who's just trying to work for the higher ups in Washington and trying to get himself higher up. And he was the man who was also trying to derail an investigation that was quite important to have.
Yeah, he's a little insane.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, so on the other hand, speaking of reports and kind of the Republican Party really trying to counteract the influence that some reports may cause, Rudy Giuliani is now apparently very confident that there was nothing there in the new Mueller report. He says, why not send the... he accidentally said something that bordered on wise on CBS's Face the Nation, which was, why not send the full Mueller report to Congress? There's nothing to hide. He said, believe me, there's nothing there. Except for little quibbles, I'm not worried about the report at all. If Andrew Weissman, who was crying at Hillary Clinton's losing party, couldn't find anything, believe me, there's nothing there. No Republicans pushing back on the full disclosure of the report, which is not true because Mitch McConnell blocked it, I believe.
Yeah.
Twice or something like that. Like, why would you want to block it? Like, if it's nothing there, like what he blocked like some preliminary vote about it. And it's very suspicious, and I don't like it at all that he wants to do that. But I think we should definitely see the full Mueller report. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if I really say suspicious that Mitch McConnell's blocking it. I think that Mitch McConnell, well, at least what he said, I don't know if I believe him, but he was saying that he wanted to let Mr. Barr have his time on it. Now, look, if I was in Mitch McConnell's place, they asked for a vote 3 days after the report was finished that Mr. Mueller had given all the information over to Mr. Barr. That was on the Monday after the Friday that they had. Mr. Mueller had ended his report and given all the information, all the findings over to Mr. Barr. Now, if I was in the place of Mr. McConnell at the time, I would probably block it on that Monday because Mr. Barr didn't release his 4-page report yet. He released it on that Wednesday, because I actually remember doing a live stream the day, and then they released it out. They had some summary of it.
It was on a Sunday, I think.
The Sunday, they were talking about releasing the 4-page, I remember, I think. It may have been released on a Sunday, but I think that Mr. Mueller ended his... actually, no, yeah, you are right. They did release it on a Sunday. But then Wednesday, like more news companies, they got the access to it, and they started writing summaries. I was, like, reading one. But... Mr. McConnell did block that twice. The second time he blocked it because he thought that they were trying to rush it and that Mr. Barr released his 4-page report and that should be enough. Now, at that point, I think that's kind of ridiculous to be blocking it. But I think that definitely is something that they're trying to hide. Mitch McConnell probably did get briefed on what is in the report, I presume, from Mr. Barr, because if he's blocking it, there's someone higher up is telling him to block it because Mitch McConnell is, again, one of those crowd followers who just makes sure that he can get the most power that he can get so he get those donations, because he's also up for re-election this next time around 2020. I don't know if he's I think he is actually running for re-election, but
is he possibly is he facing a primary challenge?
Not as of yet, but there is a strong moderate Democrat, the Attorney General, who I want to run against him because he could probably do pretty well against McConnell. But he hasn't decided yet if he's going to be running it. But that's a problem that we're going to have in 2020 that we could probably talked to about when we get closer. But we're not getting enough strong Democrat candidates for 2020 Senate races. That's the big problem right now we're having.
We haven't seen a lot about that.
Yeah, all of them are running for the president, but they're not going to win. I mean, a lot of them aren't going to win. A lot.
Yeah, like I mean, what are they going to do? Like, I think it's a thing that like Democrats often so many times focus on. Like, they put more weight on the presidency than anything else.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. That's the problem because the Senate is easy for Republicans to win because the Republicans win in many states. The Democrats usually typically win maybe I think it's 14 or 15 states usually every election that are